YouTube, somebody owns the copyright to your video. I'm like, oh no, that's not happening. Delete that, do it myself. The exact same thing. You're not allowed to own chords.
I think that's one thing that we should eventually do. Is there we go. Is to create our own theme.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be and then we just like getting a shot of the video, and just like playing like on the
Yeah.
piano. Be a nice music project on top of like the 15 other projects that we have.
Hey, maybe we can be like really funny and take all of Two Set Violins like sad customers,
I was
sad viewers.
I really enjoyed their channel.
I really am wondering what's going on because they have deleted a lot of their content too. They're not just like stopping; they're removing it.
Hmm.
So you just wonder. There's usually something, and it's usually something very private that you're not going to find out. But I'm just way too curious. I just want to know.
Yeah. I know they've been having a little
But it's
trouble
none of my
with
business.
YouTube
Oh,
with the copyrights and all those things.
yeah.
So it's even though to set violin was more of like an educational channel about discussing the music and stuff like that,
Yeah.
but they used a lot of popular music
Oh,
and
they
to talk
sometimes
about it.
would.
Mm-hmm.
And then they would if you start to hear like wind or anything, let me know. I can close my window if you hear it through my microphone because I don't have I have a wind thing that goes right on top of this for when I open my window.
Note to self.
Um
I know what I'm gonna get you for Christmas. A wind filter for your
no, I have a wind
microphone.
filter. I have it. It's in a box. I just never get it out because I there's only like a month of the year, 1 or 2 months of the year that I can actually leave my window open right here so that the wind comes through and I hear
Oh.
and I'm like, oh. Anyway, see, this is you can't get two people that are easily distracted together because we have no idea what we were talking about. Uh,
Oh, speaking of which, how are you, Phil?
I'm good. Besides having
The
a
hurricane.
ruptured eardrum,
Oh, and the eardrum.
which has been going on for a month, and I was just like, okay, this will heal itself. And then he said, yes, it should heal itself. But the thing is I kept trying to clean it myself, and he's like, that's just going to make it worse because it'll just make it keep being worse. And ruptured eardrum is not as bad as it sounds. When he said it, my brain just about went 5 zillion different directions with that. And I'm like, I was already deaf as a child, and that was fixed. We don't need to go through that again. Um,
I never knew
it's like,
that.
yeah, like half deaf. I was half deaf. They were able to do surgery to fix it. So he did say normally it fixes itself. If not, you have to go to an ear, nose, and throat, and often that is surgical. Um, Fixing, but normally, so he gave me some antibiotics, the antibiotic drops, which I used right before this. You just put a bunch of drops in your ear, let them fizz up for a while. It's fun, and told me to use antihistamines to make sure my sinuses stay clear and all that. And it can happen from anything. If you clean your ears at all using Q-tips, I've always told people don't use Q-tips because if you stick your Q-tips way in, you can rupture an eardrum.
Yeah, you
Um,
can. Yeah.
you just do it right, and then you can use water to clean your ears, and I've always done that and I've never had a problem until now. I was taught how to do it. It's just he even said that if that strain of water just hits your eardrum just right, it can rupture it. It's rare, but it can, and then when you keep trying to do it, it just doesn't get better.
Yeah, a lot of people don't
And
just stick the Q-tip in
yeah,
there, even though, like, yes, admittedly,
yeah.
I still use a Q-tip, but um,
Mm,
because I keep forgetting to buy the ear scoop, and I know this sounds really
mhm.
disgusting, guys, but like in Japan, like we're obsessed with ears, so we have
Yeah.
like all these things to clean out ears. So I'm not going to get into it because it's just Google it, and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in China, they even have like stores where you go in and say,
Clean
you
my
just want
ears.
your ears cleaned, and they just go in with a scope, and it's just these, yeah, that's it, and pull out all the wax, and it's super weird. But,
It's super weird, but
uh,
it feels good.
and I just do it all myself, and yeah, usually use water. And there are
Cultural
devices you can get.
differences, the things that you
You,
learn, but
yeah.
will never appreciate unless if you've ever tried it.
And for a lot of people, ear candles do work, but be very, very careful because you can burn your house down with one of those things. So,
So,
or put burn marks on a couch. So yeah, there's that. My house is good. We did evacuate. The eye of the hurricane did go over our house. So we are um, lucky. We're blessed. Whatever we had, a few screens torn, some shingles off of the cap part of the roof. I can't remember what it's called. That came off. We have a new roof, so it should hopefully get fixed for free. Even we're hoping. So not any major damage,
that's good to
really.
hear.
So that's nice. I mean, our home is designed to be able to withstand up to a Category 4 hurricane wind-wise, like in the design of it. And for the most part, when it is, it can usually withstand even more than that. Even the manufactured homes in the neighborhood next door to us, like almost all of them are still standing and look fine, which is very odd because, of course, they're told leave because the hurricane can blow them over and pull off the roofs. Um, there were more tornado warnings in Florida for 24 hours than ever, like by about double in recorded history.
That's
Now, of
something that
course,
you don't put together. Florida and tornadoes.
so all hurricanes, by the way, everyone, all hurricanes produce tornadoes. All of them, period. If a hurricane comes on land, there will be tornadoes. And as far as the wind damage, a hurricane itself is not going to do most of the wind damage. The tornadoes that come down will tear apart a house. So a lot of people don't realize too that like a really massively strong hurricane is going to be 135, 140 miles per hour. Tornadoes are 200 to 300 mile per hour winds. So you take a normal, really strong hurricane and double that, and that's a normal tornado. And that will just rip a house apart. It doesn't matter how your house is being built. And so those are the real danger, and those are the scary parts of the hurricane. Besides water, water is the number one.
The
They
flooding.
always say, kind of hide from the wind, run from the water. Because if you don't run from the water, you will die. And it's not like I mean, that's not to scare anyone. It's just truth. It's
Yeah.
just you do not stay there. If you are in zone A and you stay, like one of the sheriffs of one of the counties told everyone there to, in paint, write their information on their bodies so that when they pick them up, they'll know who they are. That's how dangerous the water is. 10 to 15-foot surge will drown you. It'll destroy your cars, destroy your house. It's pretty terrifying to that. A lot of people don't realize how scary it. For Californians, think of it like a wildfire is 50 miles from your house. And people over this side of the coast are like, okay, 50 miles, that's a long way. No, it's really not when it's a wildfire. You need to get out.
No, yeah. Yeah, no, it's that is truth because it's well, one, there's two aspects. Fire can spread quickly,
So
and
fast. Yeah.
a lot of people underestimate how quickly fire can spread. And also
Yeah.
too, like the embers that flow around, like from the fire, the
It can start a
sparks
new
with
one
the
somewhere
wind,
else.
it can
Yeah.
start another fire, which can either expand the consisting fire or start a brand new fire in another location.
Yeah. At least with a
So
hurricane, we know that speed, like the speed of this one was about 15 miles per hour. And the winds were about 130, I think, when it hit. So when it went over a house, it was probably like the top winds here were probably somewhere around 130. The gusts would have been faster than that, but I didn't look up what
gusts
the gusts
are
were. I would guess the gusts
are
were 180 plus probably.
that's
And that's what makes so the funniest part is our bushes out front used to look like this. Now they look like this.
the Leaning Tower of Bush.
All the bushes are just leaning slightly over. They didn't come out of the ground. They're just leaning slightly. It's just
Hey,
kind of, okay, you all survived. They'll fix themselves. You know, trees and bushes do that. They right themselves. Some of the trees need to come down in the wetlands next door, but everything's good. Our house is good. We do have hurricane windows, which is very lucky, so we didn't have to board everything.
That's good.
So they are designed to withstand 180-mile-per-hour winds. So, which the reason for that is so that if a big tree branch is coming towards the window and it hits it, if it just happens to hit a window, it won't
Go in your
totally
house.
destroy it. Yeah,
Yeah. Wow. Wow.
that kind of thing.
Sorry, I didn't know like
So,
those type of windows existed. So I'm like, ooh,
yeah,
oh, ooh.
hurricane windows, low E
Makes
hurricane
sense though.
windows.
It makes sense that it
They not
exists.
only are good for that, but they also are really good for energy efficiency. So that's the other great side effect. So like if I have it closed and the sun is like blaring straight through in a normal window, it makes it super hot. It doesn't really do much.
Mm. But
It takes
hurricane
away like
windows.
it's a total UV protection. This is why when people ask how is it people in Florida like are statistically low on vitamin D? Well, that's because it's Florida. It's too hot to go outside, and all of our windows have UV protection on them. So I take a vitamin D supplement, and California's the same way, by the way.
Yeah.
Most people are vitamin D deficient.
Yeah. Like right now, people are just like, it's too cold outside, and it's like 65.
And then it's too hot outside. It's too cold. Yeah, well, I'd said that yesterday. It was 70 degrees. We were sitting outside going, it's chilly out here. Even today, this morning, it was in the like high
That's
60s. We were
perfect
walking around.
weather. That's like
Yeah.
perfect. All right, guys. Hey, as we've
So,
been just
yes, today we're talking about ruptured eardrums and
hurricanes. No.
not the drink though.
Actually, I finished my coffee. So no, we're actually gonna be talking
Oh,
about something that is like near and like dear to our hearts. This is where both of us, stemmed from, and it's online tutoring. And we're going to be talking about the trends and the opportunities in the online tutoring industry. And it's when I say like it's dear and close like to our hearts, we've been in this industry for I like a
forever, something
decade for
like that.
you, right? Or over. No, over a
About,
decade.
yeah, totally online only. I don't know. I'd have to think. When did I do that? I totally switched to online only in like 5 years ago, 5 or 6 years ago, something like that. 6 years ago. It was 6 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been doing tutoring for 17 years.
Yeah. My
Owning my
overall
own
like
tutoring company
is
for
different. Yeah.
15. So yeah,
Yeah.
over a decade too. So like we know the ins and outs of
Yeah.
this
And
industry,
that's our
and we're making a new
online.
company about it to
Yeah.
help
And that's our, and then for
educators.
both of us, that's our online presence. I mean,
Yeah.
and both of us have been doing more for even longer than that. I started teaching piano in my pedagogy program in the 90s. And then, of course, I branched off and did some computer tech work for a while. So I learned a lot of tech stuff and then came back to teaching music again. And it's been interesting. It's just like everything has changed so much. Like from the fact that it used to be that I really had to have a real piano, a good real, at least upright piano. And now I have a really good digital piano and never thought that I would practice and teach on just a digital piano.
Yeah, it's
Never would have thought I would have done that.
it really is amazing when it comes to not just like online teaching or online tutoring, but just the tutoring on a whole, how it has evolved and it
Mm,
has impacted in all areas of this industry, from equipment to resources to skills. And that alone includes not just teaching skills or training skills,
mhm.
that also like learning software, learning how to use your equipment, and so much more. And
Right.
it's there's a lot to consider when getting into the tutoring industry.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I it it's one of the things that is can be very daunting and very difficult, and even more so than when we were getting into it first, where at that time social media was a little easier to get around. It was easier to get followers. You would think it'd be easier now. It's actually a lot harder now
Yeah.
to get followers than it used to be. There's more people doing it, and
Mm-hmm.
that makes it harder. There's more companies doing it. That some people are deciding to pick one. Like I even said, I was talking about two set violin, and their main focus was YouTube. They were on other social media, but they kind of like that was just kind of a on the side. It's like, oh yeah, we might as well throw this on here as well. But that wasn't their focus. That's why they had 4 million, over 4 million people on YouTube, but
Wait, where
like
did you
not even a
go?
million on Insta.
Oh, wait.
Hmm? Am I gone?
You left. There
Let's
was like
see. I'm
two of
gonna
me
hit
for a
the OK
second.
button.
There you
No, am
are.
I back?
You're back.
It made me hit, it put it up at the top, the this is being transcribed by, and it was a little button instead of a big button in front of my face, like it normally is. That was very odd.
Interesting. Okay.
So anyway,
But you're back.
there's so
You're
much
back.
to
I
it.
fixed you.
It is
No,
so
I did
much
not fix you.
harder and easier in some ways. There's so much to it. It's not all just difficult, but it can be daunting to figure out like what works for you.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And we just wanted to go over like this once again, like just the overall trends and the things that we need to consider before starting a tutoring business.
Hmm.
And as you were saying, Phil, like we've seen one, the growing demand for tutoring, there's such there's such an what's that word I'm thinking of, there's so many platforms expanding to host tutors,
Hmm.
and the desire for having personalized learning. And with online tutoring, I mean, students have access to just not only just tailored lessons, they can have one-on-one support to cater to their individual needs. Also, we have group lessons if for people that work better in groups rather than doing a one-on-one learning experience. And then let's not forget about the virtual classrooms. Like we use Zoom, or I use Zoom. You
Hmm.
use Zoom too, right?
I use Zoom. I use
Yeah.
Zoom, Forte, and pretty much those two. Is it?
Hmm. I've used Zoom and Google Classroom.
I've used Google Meet as well. I have used
Google,
that occasionally when others don't work.
well, Google Meet.
Forgot about
That's
that.
what they use for Google
It's
Classroom too.
yeah, it's part of Google Classroom. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Um, and then of course, like oh, the whiteboards. The whiteboards.
hmm,
Oh my goodness, they've got a
yeah.
lot better. So, especially like with online tutoring, it's just we can leverage technology to analyze student data, provide targeted interventions for better learning outcomes.
Mhm.
Right now, well, you're going to see it pretty soon on our company Notion thing. AI in education for teachers,
Hmm.
because that will be one of our courses. Um, it's just there's so much going on in the AI industry.
And it is an example for everyone how you can use it. So if you're a music teacher, I've found it's not super good. Like at the moment, who knows what they're going to change in the future or when. But for things that are not music related, the AI companion on Zoom is pretty good. I mean, yes, you do have to read through it and fix its mistakes, but that's like anything. Like when I'm creating a video, and I still use Camtasia because it has this really cool feature where it does something similar to what like YouTube does, and it'll put like all of the um, it'll caption me
Mm-hmm.
automatic. It'll auto caption me, but I have to go through that auto caption, and I can tell the videos that have not who for people who have not edited their auto caption because it's funny. because there's a lot of wrong words or missing words. And so, but I have to edit it, but it gets most of it right.
Yeah. And now, like with the current updates of the AI assistants in Zoom, it's actually helpful now in languages. So
Mm,
whenever like I am teaching, say, a Spanish class or a Japanese class, it will, for a good handful of times, will actually add that. So it is becoming more bilingual.
that's good. That's good. Yeah, it should be able to. It should be able to go back and forth. I mean, I know that Google already can. I don't know with Google Classroom if it can, but I mean, my phone can translate automatically as I talk for someone.
Hmm.
So, like, say if someone speaks Spanish, doesn't speak English, I don't speak Spanish, and I just hold my phone and shows them what I'm saying, and then they speak, and it shows me what they're saying, just automatically. It's phenomenal. It's as I'm going too.
Well, Zoom also has that. Like they have like a
Yeah.
captions and they can translate it to their desired language to what we're speaking.
Oh, right,
And this
right. I know.
helps
Yeah, I know it can do
us
that. Yeah.
to expand our business internationally. Uh,
Yeah.
okay, before we actually get to what what we wrote in the on our script, is that I actually have a question for you, Phil.
Okay.
When you first started your tutoring business as a piano, singing, and at that time I assume the viola
Yeah.
lessons, did you use multiple platforms to market yourself? And if so, what were some of the ways, if you did market yourself while signing up to the other to the different
Yeah.
platforms?
So at that time, and of course, I was only doing in person because I was even like, I think 10 or 12 years ago, testing doing Skype lessons with people. And yes, Skype lessons because it was the only good video service at the time. Everything else was terrible. Zoom was terrible. Apple was terrible. Google was terrible. Everything, only Skype could actually do it well at the time. And then, and then Microsoft bought it. So I was only testing it. So most of what I was using, I did use take lessons. I tried using Wisent when they like way back then. I didn't have a whole lot of luck with them. So I was using those two. I was using Thumbtack quite a lot,
Oh
and
yeah, I
and a lot
remember
of people have a
Thumbtack.
problem with Thumbtack because they're like, but I have to spend so much money. Now here's the way I think of it, because this is what I think. What we miss sometimes is, let's say with say Wisent takes 25%. Take lessons was taking 20%, then 10%. Lesson face takes 15%. So if you calculate, so like I even calculated what take lessons took as their percentage this year from what I made from them, and it's somewhere around $6,000. So then you go, oh my God, $6,000, and I go, okay, let's pretend I have to pay an exorbitant credit card fee, and really I would have had to pay 3,000 in credit card fees, which is ridiculous to think I would have to pay that much anyway. Let's say that. So that's another $3,000 I have to spend. If I spent $3,000 a year back then on Thumbtack, oh my God, I would have had so many students.
Hmm.
And I never thought about it that way at the time. And so I really liked Thumbtack. I think Thumbtack is really good for people looking for in person students. I don't know how good it is for, because I haven't used it in a while. I am going to probably go back to it as part of my advertising budget, because you need to diversify. Everyone has to. You've got to diversify your advertising budget, whether it
You
be not just all
really
through Meta,
do.
not all through Thumbtack, or Lessons.com is very similar to Thumbtack. Yeah, just making sure that. So those are like that you utilize that and realize that that money spent, one is tax deductible anyway, which is, I know you still want the money, but it is tax deductible. And there's so many reasons to have tax deductible stuff. That just for the fact, like, you know, as an aside, my health insurance, to keep the same subsidy, I have to make X amount of money or less. So at the end of the year, I look at that and go, oh, well, I also need these products for my business. And I go, that will come right off the top. And then my adjusted gross income is less and I keep my subsidy. Little things like that you have to think about as a self-employed person. And so these advertising budgets are great. And then I know I'm going on a tangent here. So I'm taking that. What else did I do? Since I was teaching in person, just the old school stuff, like putting up a flyer up at the libraries, simple things like that. If you're teaching in person, if you're teaching only online, that's kind of useless. Don't waste your time doing that. It's not going to work. But using as many as you can. And this was like 10, 12 years ago, 12 years ago. No, I was with Take Lessons for 14 years. So that was 15 years ago. I was doing all that.
I can't believe that. Wow.
It's been that long. I just forgot. That's ridiculous. I can't believe. Oh, and by the way, when Take Lessons stopped allowing lessons the day, which was the 15th, which was 2 days
2 days
ago,
ago, yeah.
that was my anniversary of starting with them.
I read that on the community.
I didn't
The
notice it until it came up. I was like,
irony.
"Oh my God, that is super weird."
That the irony.
That was just so super super weird. And I wouldn't have noticed it, but my wife pointed it out. So that was
That is
so cool to
wow.
see that in a way.
So cool.
In a way, yeah. Why not?
Okay.
It was different. Yeah, 14 years. It was. It was 14 years ago. I was like, really? 14 years?
Yeah, just and
Oh,
well, we're going to touch on that actually. Well, not specifically on TL, but we're going to
yeah,
talk
yeah.
about it as an example. Um, a lot of people, when they join these tutoring platforms, they expect that these tutoring businesses are going to market them. Only like a very small percentage. They don't have to market you. They can recommend you if,
Mhm.
if they know you and they know your specialty and stuff like that. Um, but they don't have to do anything. They're not
Yeah.
responsible for you. You are independent contractors when you sign up for a tutoring platform. And I know for some people think that, oh, they should. No, they are focused on their own business to attract tutors to join them so they can attract students to their website so they can shop around
Hmm.
for their preferred tutor.
Yeah.
That essentially is their business model. Um, and so you are your own tutoring business. You're using these platforms as a form of a way to market yourself. You are expanding on ways that people can find you. And the fees that you have to pay, I mean, those are just business expenses at the end.
Yeah.
You
As an
have to
example,
fork up, and but you were
yeah,
sorry,
yeah.
you were
No, you go
talking
ahead.
about
Sorry.
Thumbtack and how
Yeah,
people
yeah.
didn't want to put that money in it. You have to put that money because it is your
Mhm.
business. You're using these platforms as a marketing tool. You pay for marketing.
Mhm.
Please go ahead.
It's true. No, that was basically I was gonna say that, and like so. For example, I know I'm a Super Prof Pro, and I think Rosita is as well. We have like the
Oh, you
pro
finally gave into Super
thing.
Prof Pro?
I finally did well, and before I did it, I had someone already contact me, even outside of being a pro on there. So
Sorry.
now there's good and bad to Super Prof. One of the bads is their own marketing to tutors is misleading is the nice way to put it. Outright lie is the real way to put it. It says hiring tutors, $20 to $80 an hour. I'm like, you aren't hiring anybody that's a tutor ever. So they literally are lying to you as a tutor. Now, on the other side of that, they still are a good company because when they market out to get people. You do see ads on Meta. I see ads on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Oddly, I saw one for myself, which I'm like, you're paying me to ask to get myself to teach myself lessons. Okay, that's weird, but okay.
I see. I've seen myself on Meta as
It's like,
well.
why are you doing that? I don't see any, didn't see any other teachers. I see myself first. Seriously?
Hey, we're that good to teach us.
So, I mean, there are other things like on SuperProf, they require you to give one free lesson. They require it's a part of their business. So
Hmm.
you can't get out of it. You can
And they're
change the amount of time
very,
of it.
with specifically with Super Prof, I mean, 45 minutes.
Mm,
I mean,
yeah.
for a student, that is generous
Yeah,
in
well, you can
comparison
change
to
it to
lesson
30
days.
minutes. You can lower it to 30. Mine was automatically put at 1 hour. And I was like, oh, no, 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 no. I changed it to 30. And this one person, I just told her right out that I'm sorry, we're doing 30 minutes. We're not doing the hour for
Hmm.
free. And she was okay with that. Now, the good thing, something like SuperProf, as an example, is all of these are different. Like Thumbtack, the potential students or people who need a tutor are going on there looking for someone. They don't have to pay anything. You have to pay to be able to talk to them, basically. On SuperProf, it's actually the other way around. The students have to pay $50 a month to be allowed to even see and contact anybody.
Yeah.
The thing about that is both of those are great because you don't have to pay through them. Even SuperProf, they
Hmm.
even tell you like you can have them pay through SuperProf, or you can just go by yourself. Just do whatever you want. It doesn't
And it's
matter.
a
You're
small
paying the fee.
percentage that they take if you do
Well,
choose to get at
if
least,
you're a pro, there's zero. There's no
yeah, if you're a
percentage
pro,
if
it's
it's a pro.
zero. But if you're
It's
not a
10.
pro, it's still like a
It's 10%.
reasonable
Yeah.
percentage.
It's low. It's only 10%. But then I figured 10%, if this person buys just like 10 lessons, we're really close to my pro level already. So
Hmm.
why not just do it? If I get a second lesson, it's paid for itself.
Yep.
A second person. And so all of these, this is not to like say, hey, SuperProf is the best thing ever. I'm not saying that. Just that these are all
Branch
things
out.
that you do need to branch out, and you have to pay for advertising. You have to. If you want to be an online tutor, you're going to have to pay somebody something. You're not People aren't just going to just show up out of nowhere unless you're an influencer.
Hmm.
If you're an influencer, good for you. Now, if you're an influencer, you may not even need those students. If you really are a real like 100,000 plus follower influencer.
And also with, paying to market yourself, to pay to branch out, one thing that we also have to remember is that students will may not come immediately. The reason I say may, because you may actually have a chance that you might get a student like within 3 days. Uh, but for a lot of the time, that's not the case. It can take weeks, months, and that is going to be dependent on how you market yourself in other ways. Because marketing, there's different ways to market yourself. It's not just branching out to different tutoring platforms. You also have to do social media marketing, blogs, newsletters, uh, and so much more if you want to expand your name. Not
Yeah.
everyone's going to know who you are. You put a name like, and you just wait and wait.
Yeah.
You're
And know
you're
that you
going to
don't
lose.
have to do all of that. Like, I don't do all of that. I don't do newsletters. I used to do newsletters when I had my computer business. Um, and I really hated doing it. So I just said, I don't have to do everything. Now, if you love doing all those things, I think Rosita loves doing all these things, is
Oh,
good at it. So
it's a love hate
you,
relationship. I do
yeah,
it because I have certain business goals that I
right,
want to achieve, and those are like the necessary tasks that I need to do.
right, right, of
So also,
course.
this is also gonna be dependent on your business goals. Is this something that you want to do for the rest of your life? Do you want to become the tutor, that everyone's a go-to, or it depends on what you want from your tutoring business. Do you want to keep it local? Do you want to keep it, around like the state
Yeah.
or
And it
national?
does. It depends on what you're doing.
Hmm.
There are musicians out there who really they don't want to be doing tons of social media marketing because they need that time to practice.
Hmm.
And to work with, like, say they're a violinist and they're already working with an orchestra, so they're practicing for the orchestra, they're practicing with the orchestra, they need to practice their own stuff, they need to teach their lessons. By then you have to pick something that works for you and that
Hmm.
you enjoy doing, whether it be videos on Meta or videos on YouTube or both, because you can do both pretty easily. You can have them go out to both at the same time. Um, or do you not like doing videos? Do you hate videos? And like, do you want to just um, put like fun
To
things
Instagram.
on Instagram?
Yeah.
That's fine. There's nothing wrong with doing that. I know a lot of musicians that all they do is post pictures of themselves, either or pictures or videos of themselves with their instrument, playing with their instrument, or whatever, or some little thing about them talking about something that got caught their attention that day or that week. And that helps to keep at front of mind for potential students.
Yeah. Knowing what you want to do is important because if you are not specific, then a couple of things will happen. One, you're going to be extremely overwhelmed. One. Two, you're not going to get the results that you seek. Three, you're not going to attract the clients that you are seeking.
Yeah.
People out there are looking for a specific type of tutor. And if you generalize it, you'll be missing opportunities.
And that comes to a couple things. I'd say a couple points that are really important. What you just said. One is the new student I've gotten through Super Prof, or potential student, because I haven't even had her first free lesson yet, and that's coming up in the weekend. Is that she came to me because of something I wrote in my description in Super Prof that just kind of caught her eye. And making sure to write something that's very personal to you
Mm-hmm.
about your teaching style, because that's important to getting the right students. So important to get the students that will work for you. For me, working with adults and working with people whose goals are not to make me look good, which a lot of teachers do. And that is fine if that's what you want. If you want those students that are going to excel extremely, I don't mean it in a bad way to say it makes you look good, but it does. It does make you look good. Or if you just want to work with kids, or you just want to work with adults, or you just want to work with people going into college, make sure to put that in there. And there was another point to that I think is always really important is know your market
Yes.
so that you know what to charge, and never charge your undercharge. We've said this like at least every other episode we do is don't be a $15 an hour or a $10 a half hour tutor. Please don't.
Be-
And even you say,
there's
but I can afford to
indirect
be. Yeah,
consequences
even
to that.
and even if you can afford to be, there's so many reasons not to.
Mm-hmm.
You you often will find that at the cheaper rate, you're going to get students that are less engaged in the lesson and they don't really want to do it. You're going to find they're more likely to be the type of student who is wishy-washy about things. They might even ask you for more discounts because I hate to say it, you're too cheap. When you charge enough, don't look at what other teachers are charging on major sites. Don't go into SuperProf and look through teachers and start to say, but that teacher's only charging $20 an hour. Maybe I should. No, it doesn't matter. It does not matter
You
what
don't
they're
know where
charging.
they live. You don't know what their situation is
Mhm.
on why they are charging that amount.
Right.
You have to base your price on one, where you live, the
Yeah.
cost of living and where you live. So I live in SoCal. I have to charge higher so I can pay the bills.
No,
In
she at least
comparison
doesn't
to
live in San
someone,
Fran,
I,
where you'd have to charge like 4 times.
oh my God, thank God. Duh. You know what? At this rate, maybe I should charge San Fran the prices
If
because the
I lived
prices
in, if
here is
oh
getting
God,
close.
if I lived in like downtown Miami, San Francisco, New York, I would just go work at Aldi or something and just be done with it.
No, Uh, okay, that's nothing bad to it, but no, I did not put myself in student debt to work at a grocery store. It's a good as a temp job, for transitions.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, not my personal career choice.
Nah, I get it.
And you too, you're educated, you're educated.
Hey, I worked at Best Buy for 7 years, most of
So,
that full time.
okay,
But I will say
good.
that Best Buy is one of the higher paying retail stores in the country.
No,
So yeah, and really good benefits. I had great benefits, good health insurance, great discount. They always promised us bonuses at the end of the year that I laughed at them. I'm like, what are you laughing for? Because I know I'm not going to get them because we've never gotten them. Nobody gets them. But we got paid well enough that I was like, I don't care, whatever.
I like shopping at Best Buy.
20, 20 years ago when I quit that job, I was getting paid 14.60 an hour at Best Buy.
Wait,
And
how
this is
long
not in
ago was that?
California, by
20
the
years?
way.
That's
20
actually
years
good for
ago.
20 years ago.
It is. The starting rate was minimum wage, but nobody got paid minimum wage at Best Buy, except for maybe like high school cashiers. Those are the only ones that would get paid minimum wage. Everybody else usually got at least either 50 cents or a dollar more than that. And I was a tech. Our tech starting salary 28 years ago, which is when I would have started, 27 years ago, which is when I would have started, was $9 an hour. So it wasn't bad.
Mm-mm-mm. And again, guys, we're talking about over 20 years ago.
Yeah, it's a
Okay?
long time ago. Nobody got
Yes,
paid that well
back
back
in the
then.
day.
When there wasn't a people shortage like there is now. So yeah, they didn't have to pay us more. They just did because they wanted better people. So
Mm-mm-mm.
less people quit the job. We actually, so it really matters. And it goes back to not just businesses paying people well enough. It's important. If you are a business, so if you are a business owner as a tutoring business, this gets to that. It's kind of where I was going here, is please don't lowball the tutors you're trying to hire.
Yeah.
It's so important to make sure that they get paid well enough that they want to stay with you. And they don't say you give them 20 students and all of a sudden you have like the next thing you know is like, wait, where did my tutor go? And where are those 20 students? Well, they left you and took the students with them. Well, that's illegal. Well, it doesn't matter. What are you going to do about it? I mean, I'm just being honest. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah. When it comes
Really
to
nothing.
tutoring, look up your state's minimum wage and
Mm.
then add $10. If you
Yeah.
want to
Yeah,
be in the
exactly.
low end
That's low
of
end.
the
Yeah,
wage
exactly.
for tutoring, look up your state's minimum wage and then add $10.
And for example, in Florida, that would be $25 an hour
Mm-hmm.
because our
Mm-hmm.
minimum wage is $15 an hour now.
If you work in fast food,
Mm.
um, like if you have multiple, it's a chain. You
Right,
get so it'll be $30 an
right.
hour.
Yeah, I know California's a little higher, and some other states might be a little lower. But
Only for
yeah,
fast
do
food, it's
that.
like
It's a
they
good
get
idea.
$20 an hour. If it's like retail, I think it's 15. So as
Okay.
well, so about 25 to $30.
Yeah.
Because if you start at $20 an hour, sorry, if you start like $15 an hour, I mean, one, again, there are indirect implications that impact other tutors.
It
They will
does. Yeah.
expect quality for an extremely low rate. I will never forget this. I there was a student, actually a mom that contacted me. It was about like 2, 3 years ago, and say, I'm looking for singing lessons for 30 minutes. And I told her my rate. My rate back then was $45 for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, that's too much. I'll go 15 minutes because it's only singing class.
Yes, it's only a singing class. Everything you need to
Excuse
learn, you
you.
will learn in 15 minutes. You will learn
Oh,
everything in
oh,
one class, 15 minutes. Kind of like how all I need to do is watch YouTube videos to learn Spanish.
yeah. No, first, like, okay.
That's
For
funny.
those
I
that
like it.
are unfamiliar about singing classes, it's not just about singing a song for a certain amount of time and telling a student to
Sing
produce
it again.
weird sounds, okay? No. Singing, I mean, you have to know anatomy and physiology. You have to actually be trained. You have to be aware. It there's education behind it, and then also the experience on top of that, like everything else. And also, singing is a sport. So for those out there, I think that singing classes are only worth $15. Please do your research. Please and thank you. I'm
Well, I mean
outvoted.
that goes with everything though. It's
Yeah.
not just the singing because I've had it from everything where people say, "Well, if you go on I forget what one of the other ones. It's like Lesson Pal, which is
I remember Lesson Pal.
yeah, they're still there. And every now and then I get somebody on there saying that they're willing to pay up to like $30 an hour. That's the max I've ever seen. And I've contacted their admin about this and saying, well, can I make it sure that nobody contacts me unless it's at least $50 an hour? Well, we can't do that. It's like, well, then why am I on your site? It's like they basically said, we don't get anybody like that. We don't get potential students like that. So, and that is okay if the people on there that's what they want to charge. There are a lot of teachers on there charging $15 an hour. They're not necessarily in the U.S. though. So
Yeah.
let's just to say that you grew up and live in Costa Rica. fifteen
That might
dollars
be
an
enough.
hour
That's
not might be enough for you. It's still not great even for Costa Rica, but I mean for
livable.
that it's definitely livable. It absolutely is. I mean, and I mean I don't even know what the comparison would be to the U.S. It's probably better than I think if you know where to shop and all that. But there are a lot of teachers on there that are not US based.
Yeah.
And remember that when these teachers are teaching something like music, for example, or even um, let's say they're teaching English as a second language. And what if English is their second language? It's okay. And a lot of people whose second language is English teach ESL. And this is not me downgrading that at all because their English is probably better than mine. I found that to be the case usually. And but you have to remember that there are a lot of students out there that this is not meaning this in any bad way. They want an American accent on the other side of the screen.
Hmm.
They don't even want a British accent on the other side of the screen.
They want
They want somebody that
um
sounds yeah.
American accent for an American
That
accent for English.
because they want to learn how to speak the same way someone in this country speaks, or at least,
Hmm.
well, for the most part, there's a lot of dialects in the US. I get it. Hundreds of dialects in
Standard
the US.
American
So,
pronunciation. They want to learn SAP.
yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. So they want that kind of thing. And so just remember there are going to be people that are charging less, but you are worth more. No matter as long if you have the education and or the experience. I say and or because I know people with experience and no education that are better than people with education.
Yeah.
It
Oh, yes. Because
lots of them.
yes. Mm-hmm. That's
So
definitely true. And then let me just go through. Oh, why do I keep clicking on the wrong thing? Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba. And that actually leads me to another aspect when owning your tutoring business. Listen, guys, you are educators. So, knowing how to teach, knowing how to explain things is just slightly important.
hmm
Knowing how to communicate with your stakeholders is going to be important. And what I mean by stakeholders, these are people that are interested in your business, and they will probably, and they're going to pay you for it, for this, like, for that particular project. And stakeholders can include the parents, it can include the district, it can um heck, it can include tutoring platforms themselves
hmm
if you reach that higher level enough, if you reach that level enough. If you reach that level, wow, I need to work on my own communication. But so this is where investing in professional development, I said it right, and
There you go.
continuous learning is key to staying competitive in the industry. And this, it's not limited to the tutoring industry. It's for all industries. But
hmm
since our topic today is specifically the tutoring industry, continuous learning is key to be competitive. And this includes learning psychology. This includes a dash of neuroscience. This this includes behavior. This includes like AI in education. This includes technology advancements, the latest pedagogical trends.
Yeah.
Because everything, one thing that is constant is change. And especially since we're trying to create inclusive learning environments, and it doesn't have to be a classroom, it can, or an online classroom. When I had my tutoring business, I had classes in the park or at
Mm.
Starbucks. So that's why I say learning environment. Constant just personal development. And guys, I cannot emphasize this enough. It's something that you need to do as educators, to learn the different methods out there so you can have the ability to adapt to the different types of students that you
hmm
will obtain. Because, and this is something that we say every other video, not one student is the same, not one class or group is going to be the same. They're not all going to learn the same way. So it's important for not just you, but for your clients as well. And so you guys can see
Yeah.
I'm very passionate about that because, oh dear Lord.
You are. That's okay because just like you said, not every student is the same. Also, not every teacher or tutor is the same.
Mm-hmm.
And knowing like who you are, I know the students that I am bad at teaching. I know that. And I know that I learn to be better at teaching those students. I could, but I prefer to become even better at teaching the ones I'm already good at.
Mm-hmm.
I prefer to do that. That's my personality. I've learned that certain types of personalities just don't work with me.
And
I
that is
actually do enjoy,
okay.
sorry. Yeah, like I enjoy teaching little kids, but for me, there has to be a parent there. It's the only way it will work for me. I've talked to teachers who say, absolutely not. I never want a parent in the room. I don't care how young the kid is. Um, and I get it. You somehow are able to work with that kid better, or they feel like they get a better rapport with them. I have the opposite effect. I feel like if a problem happens, if a tantrum happens, it's just like, nope, we're done. And that's what a lot of teachers say. Like as soon as a tantrum with a student happens, they're like, nope, piano lid closed, we're done, you're out. One
Mm-hmm.
more of those, no more lessons. And unfortunately, that's me too. I can't put up with it. I don't want to, but that doesn't mean that you are like someone else is not the type of tutor that doesn't know how to handle that. You might already have your own kids with that have temper tantrums and you already know how to deal with it, or you've had the education, or you were one of those kids and you just know what to do.
Yeah, knowing
um
yourself
there
is very
Yeah.
important, and who you know you want to teach, and that can also go into your what was the term, the type of clients you want to attract.
Right.
Understanding your targeted market will also share or potentially share the same characteristics or
Yeah.
personality traits.
Yeah. So yeah, that was perfect. That's all I wanted to add to that because I thought that was like a good thing to just make sure you know yourself. I've found that with myself, I thought I could teach everybody anything, and a lot of us do that. We think I can do anything for anybody. I found
Yeah.
that when I first started teaching like really little kids, so was using for piano a series called Music for Little Mozarts. And the great thing about that Alfred series, and other series do the same thing. I've used a similar series by a couple other companies, and I didn't like them as much. But I've had other teachers say, "Oh, really? That's the only one that worked for me." It depends who you are. And then with like all of these series, they have teacher workbooks. This is the great thing about piano series and pianists that create things. Pianists that create things, for some reason, they are so overly like prepared and meticulous about how they put things together that I have books telling me how to teach the book that the student has. Now, of course, I don't agree with everything that's in there and I don't follow it to the letter. Because, like it says, for a 4-year old, for the first 45-minute lesson, and I just laugh for a little while and then I get back to reading it.
Yeah.
I'm like, 45-minute lesson for a 4-year old. Seriously? Okay, back in the
No.
70s, Sesame Street was an hour-long program. You know how long it is now? 25 minutes.
And there's a reason for that. There's a reason for that. But yeah, it's again going on what Phil said is that we have to be honest with ourselves. We have to recognize both of our strengths and our weaknesses. But we don't want to see the weaknesses as something negative, right?
Right.
It's just something that, if it's something that you want to do to improve on, okay. But everyone will have their weaknesses. Everyone will have their strengths. Like I work with this teacher who works better with older children rather than younger learners, younger children. And even though technically they're all children, he slightly does better with grades, uh, 5 and older,
Mhm.
but nothing other that under than that. So just knowing your strengths.
Yeah. Think of it like things that Everyone is bad at something. I'm just going to be, I mean, just be honest with yourself.
Mhm.
There is something that you are just not good at. It doesn't mean you can't become good at it, but there is something. We don't think of it as a negative trait that you're bad at math, or reading is something you absolutely hate and you're not bad at it. You just really hate it. It's not, or you're not a good football player. You're not, whatever, or you're not a fast runner. None of that's important. It's not a negative trait. It's just something that you're not good at. So what? Everybody is bad at something. Every single person.
Like, I'm slow at math, and I hate math, but I
That's okay.
am good at it, although it does take me a while. And it's something that I have to utilize on a daily basis, for not only just for budgets, but also I have to use statistics for risk management, and so much more. And it
Mhm.
takes me a long time to do it. And is it frustrating for me? And does it dwindle my self confidence? A little bit. But then I have to remind myself it's okay because, that's just who I am. As long as I get it done.
Right.
That's what matters, is that you achieve the task. It doesn't matter how long it takes, as long as you're able to accomplish it and don't have to worry about it for 24 hours or more.
Exactly. And you know what? Whether someone is good or bad at math, as far as for business, is totally different than it is in just a math class. It's
Yo,
it's not
yeah.
the same. It's
It's,
not quite the same. There's lots of other things, and depending on what you are doing. Like my wife teaches business. Business math is something that just like I can do it. I can understand it. I don't like it.
yeah.
I mean, because I am good at math, but I always was good at math. But I don't necessarily enjoy doing the real world math. That's the bad part about it. I always, when I was considering, do I become a mathematician or a musician? Becoming a mathematician would have been to teach it, not to use it.
Mm-mm.
Is
See,
all
I
it would.
would
And
want
so
to
that
avoid
goes to
math
like if
anyway.
you do, yeah, like if you do teach something like that, like or if you're teaching it, it doesn't mean you want to do it. It just means you can't. So a lot of times people have this idea that if you're a teacher, this goes back to that old idea that means you're not good enough at something. It's like no, it just means
Yeah.
you maybe like teaching it.
You're a
Maybe you just
better explainer than the
than the people who
alternative.
do it.
Yeah, than the
Well,
alternative.
and that's the thing, because you're not necessarily worse at doing the actual business side of it. You just don't want to.
Hmm.
Or you want to do the theoretical stuff. Like if you are a mathematician, you want to do the theoretical stuff. You don't want to do the stuff like you don't want to be an accountant or a CPA because why? If you don't want to do it, don't do it just because it makes money.
Yeah, it's and that
Yeah.
really well, if you guys check out my personal channel, um, is knowing what you like is also going to impact your productivity. It's going to impact your focus and other elements
Mhm.
of your life. And you're going to grow
Yeah.
to you're not necessarily going to grow to hate it. Is you're going to build that hate for it, and this is only going to get stronger over time. So again, so this kind of goes back to what we were discussing at the beginning about starting your own tutoring business. Is know what you want to teach. Do you, so say it's math, do you prefer to teach algebra? Is that your life and joy? Or is it
Mm.
pre-calc or physics? You psychos. No,
You
you're not, just a
psychos.
junkies. um then that's your thing. Focus on that, whatever generally makes you happy and that you know that you're good at. Okay?
Hmm.
If you are a math tutor and you feel like you have to teach all aspects of math, you do not. It's good to
Yeah.
have a specialty.
You could be an SAT prep math tutor. There's
Yeah,
so many of those
exactly.
out there.
Mm-hmm.
So many people out there that do just that and nothing else because they specialize in it. This is what you need to know to get a good grade on the math SAT or ACT, depending on where you live.
Yes, yes. I know a lot of people who are SAT math tutors and just SAT prep
Mm.
tutors in general in Texas. It's oof.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
there's a
and
lot
that
of them
and
in
those
Texas.
same people are also like usually GRE tutors for people like when I was getting into my master's degree and you're like I have to take a what? Well, it's basically an SAT. It's like, didn't I already do that like 5 years ago? Yeah, it's the same test. Like, I don't remember any of that stuff. Yeah, that's why we make you do it again. It's like, but I just got a bachelor's degree. Okay, whatever. It's like,
It's
so you have people to help you repass the SAT that you already passed when you got out of high school, but they're assuming you forgot everything and they're right.
yeah, yeah. It's This is why assessments and reassessments are so important. They're annoying, but they are important. That's why they
Yeah.
have doctors, do these tests again and again after so long.
Yeah.
Because especially they're testing them on the new things that came out too. So there's like newer ways to approach a math subject.
Yeah.
So, and that's only an example. Don't get me started on languages.
I was just gonna say, like language tutors. Oh my gosh, what do you want to tutor in language? I wouldn't even know like the different ways or who. I mean, I know. Do you want to teach little kids to speak whatever your language is, or do you want to teach just adults, or all of the above, or something in the middle?
Yeah,
Or is there a
no
certain aspect of it? Like, is it
traveling, like travel
conversational?
Spanish.
Is it travel? Is it
Hmm.
conversational? Is it to basically you're getting your master's degree and the one thing missing is you don't have your language credit and you hate languages and you need someone to help you. Are you that person that can tutor those people that are frustrated adults? you
Who
know?
need accountability. I've
Yeah.
gotten that for a long time. When I was a vocal and language coach, was that I got people hired me because they had to be held accountable. They had
Mm.
the desire, they had the motivation to do it, but they needed the accountability to actually physically do it.
Yeah.
So, and there are students like that. Some people they would treat a tutor as a study buddy, which is
Well, it's
okay.
okay.
Which is
You know what?
okay.
I have that in piano. I have that
Yeah.
in piano. I have students that they do practice a little bit, but then most of our lesson is practice time. Is
Hmm.
me basically telling them how to practice. And I'm going to be honest, it's a lot of students that are like that. And a lot of teachers don't like teaching that way. I don't mind it. I don't mind my lesson going, okay, let's start in this measure. Now we're going to play that measure 5 times and see how it's going after that.
Hmm.
And that's what I do. And it's just meticulous. Like I'm not teaching them to be more musical. I'm not teaching them to be able to be a better, more more metronomic. I'm just teaching them. Okay, let's get this measure down. Now we get this measure. Let's do another measure. Let's put them together. I'm practicing with them every
Yeah.
week sometimes, and it's fine.
It
It
is. And the
gets the job
reason
done.
why I took that pause right there
Mm.
is because, we do want as educators to teach people how to be accountable on their own by giving
Mm-hmm.
them the proper resources. But of
Yeah.
course, you can do that on top of being a study buddy. So that's why
Yeah.
I'm like, it's okay. That's why I put it like right here. Um,
Yeah.
some learners work better that way. Again, knowing how
Yeah.
you teach your personality is going to help you attract the clients that you want by targeting a
Mm.
specific market, by target, and this includes personality traits. The workbook that we're working on for our song studios, we talk about that, the clientele that we want to attract.
Mm. Yeah, it is important and something to remember. Like so, some learners, me, actually do better in that study buddy type of lesson. For example, some of the more advanced pieces that my students are playing, if I want to learn something and I'm learning a piece of music, I'll notice that the pieces that they are learning, I'm learning them faster than I'm learning my own pieces. I'm like, wait a minute, that's super weird because I'm teaching them their piece, but I'm having to go through the motions with them to help them. It's
That's
because
not
I
weird
learn
at
better that way
all.
too. I learn better that way too.
Yeah, that's nothing weird. Every
Yeah.
person has their. So I actually just did a video on productivity styles.
Mm.
And in that video, it talks about, well, right now it's a short, which you guys can watch. It's the video itself is not uploaded, but I talk about knowing your personality is going to help you with finding out your productivity style. So
Hmm.
some people need that other person. Some people needs to be by themselves so they can learn. Some people need to be in a busy area and all that noise and hear chaos, and they're able to focus better. For others, they need that someone with them, but quietly, so they can be productive or learn.
Yeah.
So this applies to finding out your learning style. And I believe this is important to know as educators so we can give like the proper advice to
Hmm.
students so they can achieve their goals.
Right.
So you're not weird, Phil, on that
There's other ways,
end.
but not
There's
that
other way.
way.
As I am
So yeah.
weird in my own ways.
Yeah. So yeah. So just yeah, like she said, know yourself, know your students, and
And be
as
honest.
and be honest. Know your worth. Just know yourself. I know that I wasn't the right teacher to be teaching viola. I experienced, but not I am educated, but not college educated in viola. So that's why one of the other reasons I stopped, but besides it being all
And
online.
you don't have to
Um,
be. And although
yeah.
having the when people say they have education, um, it's there are people who have self-learned and then have the experience
Hmm.
on that particular subject. And that should not discredit them at all. With that said, of course, I'm going to go back and reiterate into saying, please learn teaching skills if this is something that you want to tutor. Uh,
Yeah.
but you don't need to have a master's in education. You don't have to have a master's in music or a bachelor's in Spanish or anything like that. You could been a
Mm.
psych major, and
And then
if it's
teach
piano and you've
Japanese.
played piano for a
Oh
while,
yeah.
you've learned the techniques and everything, and you know how to teach, dude, you're qualified.
Yeah. And you know what? Like say you're a piano teacher. Piano is one of the easiest things to teach yourself to teach. Now, technique, I'm gonna go on a slant, say that's not the easiest part, but that's for anything in music. The technique part, if someone gets to a more advanced level, or you have a student who is saying, hey, this hurts and that hurts, or I'm not doing this right, what's going wrong with this, then they might need a more advanced teacher.
Mm-hmm.
Like so, but on that side of it, if you're just teaching little kids, they're not gonna. I'm just gonna be honest. They're not gonna have wrist pain. They can do anything with their wrists and nothing ever happens because they're little kids. They heal like seconds after they stop doing whatever hurt. Um, there are so many books on how to teach. Like I said, even with the Faber series, with the Alfred series, the Bastion series, they all, I think the Piano Safari series, they come with Piano Town as well. Those all come with or you can get teacher's guides that tell you what to do and how to teach each page of the book. You
Yeah.
don't have to follow. Like I said, the Alfred for 4-year-old series says to teach 45-minute lessons, which I think is ridiculous. I always thought it was ridiculous when I was taking pedagogy in college. Like the master's level pedagogy classes were teaching us, all students should take at least a 45-minute lesson. Now I know teachers out there that do that and say that 30 minutes is a waste of time. It has to be at least 45 minutes to an hour, no matter what the age. I completely disagree. It doesn't mean they are wrong. I just completely disagree.
Yeah.
I think 15-minute lessons for some kids is fine. Their goal as a student isn't always going to be what your goal was as an educator, because you're an educator. So obviously you're doing it for a living.
Mm-hmm.
Their goal is not necessarily to do it for a living. That kid could also be playing football. It doesn't mean they're going to be in the NFL, because most likely they're not. And I can usually tell most of the kids who are not, because I mean, I'm just being honest. There is a certain athletic level you have to reach to be that person,
Yeah.
but they still love playing football. Should they stop playing football, or should they try harder? No, they should
As
just.
people have different goals. Our learners are going to have different goals on why they want
Yeah.
to start or to maintain that particular hobby.
Yeah. There is one thing. So, kids going into high school, this is an unfortunate thing about getting into colleges now. When I was going to college, you did no extracurricular activities for the most part.
Hmm.
You did whatever the thing was you were going to go into. For me, it was music. I played viola and piano, and I didn't start singing until college, by the way. So, I didn't even start doing that. So, I, yeah, not even at all. Wouldn't even open my mouth to hum a tune. And so, did I do anything else extracurricular? No, I took AP Calculus, no other AP classes. I was offered multiple full scholarships from high end universities. Today, if I did it that way, I would be offered nothing from everybody. And barely, I'd be lucky to be even offered a chance to even attend the university, at least according to what my parents will tell me of kids. It's scary hard now. A lot of kids like might be taking piano so that they can take exams, so that they can put it on their transcript, so they
Hmm.
have a better chance of getting in. Now I say that you won't get anything. I'm exaggerating a little bit. A lot of times they're trying to get into high end universities,
Yeah, I have a
and
student
if
who's
you
trying
want
to
to get
get
into that,
into Harvard, and she is working so hard.
yeah,
And like she's taking so many supplemental classes. She is taking, even though she's in high school, she's taking these classes that will actually that will count as a college credit. She actually is taking a class, two
mm,
classes, a community college that is extended for high school
yeah,
students who pass, um, volunteer work. Like she's trying so hard to get the the qualifications or the minimum qualifications for her to be accepted at Harvard University.
yeah. It's hard. It is. I mean,
It's
if
crazy.
they want to go to some like private college in their state, they're probably going to be fine. Just to be honest, not doing all that stuff. But if they really want to go to a big, prestigious university, it's a lot harder than it used to be. Not that it didn't used to be hard, but I mean,
It's harder
I was.
now. Their
It is. I was
requirements.
offered good scholarship to Cleveland Institute and Cincinnati Conservatory, without having any more extracurricular activities at all besides orchestra,
Oh,
which is just another music. So it wasn't that hard. The only thing they went on was the audition. There was nothing else. They didn't even look at what you've done. They didn't even care what my GPA was, as long as it was above a C average. That it was so much easier at that time. So some of the students you get might be taking a language or taking an instrument, or just so that they can get that little bit of extra something on a transcript
hmm.
that looks good to that college.
Target audience versus actual audience. Ooh, that's a good one. So a target
Mhm.
audience is when a person who is starting their business, they're, they're the clientele that they want to attract. Whereas an actual audience are those that are just generalized. You have people from all over that want to book you for, just say, Spanish in general, or that they want to,
Mhm.
or they like your knowledge, or they like what you're posting, or the information that you're giving. It's more of a broader spectrum, whereas a target audience is the specific type of clientele that a business owner wants to attract. It's a great
Hmm. You
question.
could even think you could even think like target market versus target audience, or target audience versus target customers. There's lots of ways to think of that.
Mm-hmm.
Business wise, I was trying to think of what the different like terms are for that. I don't remember. Said I'm not the business person. It's my wife. She knows all the terminology.
I would love to have a conversation and nerd out about business topics with your
Hmm.
wife. I, I'm a geek when it comes to those things.
Yeah, there's a lot like that, people don't understand about, like if you make a product, for example, let's say you make trinkets to sell, whatever, or you're an artist. Let's say you're an
Or
artist.
to
Okay,
apply it to
you paint.
tutoring services, the subject that you want to teach, Spanish for travelers. That could be a product. The product can be a
It could
service.
be, yeah, and it is. It can be. It's the hard part is like figuring out what is your cost of goods sold as your tutor. There really hardly is any.
Yeah,
There
yeah,
really
no.
isn't. That's why being a tutor, we do pretty well. Like someone who creates a painting, you look at it and go, "Wow, $350 for that one painting? That's a lot of money." It's like, oh, actually,
Materials
no.
involved.
There's materials.
Mm-hmm.
There's the variable cost of the materials. Then there's, just the time involved. What do you think your time is worth?
And that's
Did it
something
take 3 hours to paint?
I do have to consider because I write workbooks and
Hmm.
journals. So so I have to consider like the materials involved. I have to consider like the time it takes and the equipment that I need, maintain that
Hmm.
equipment. There's so many elements to that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So you've got because yeah, you do have different costs, and
Hmm.
figuring out your cost of goods sold
Yeah,
is
not
is
digital
interesting.
um,
Yeah.
things.
Non-digital stuff that
Yeah,
actually costs something to make.
non-digital products. There we go. That's the term.
Yeah. Exactly.
Uh,
Perfect.
I do have to get going, but I do want to kind of
Yes.
close
Yes.
out and just review everything that we have discussed. Um, so essentially, if you guys are planning to start your own tutoring business, I think it's safe to say that the biggest advice that we can give you out there who are considering is that do your research and plan. Please take the time to understand your market, develop a strong business plan, and invest in your own
Mhm.
professional development. And most important, do not be afraid to adapt and evolve as the industry changes. We talk about this nearly every single episode. Between Phil and I, we had to adapt a lot. We had to go through these changes for 15 to 20 years in this industry.
Yeah.
Well,
Or
15
even
maybe
for me,
too.
30 years, if I consider my college days and
Yeah.
teaching from back then,
It's
what things were.
we need to learn to adapt. And I'm telling you, like this includes the teaching skills as well. How we would teach back then is much different of how we teach right now. The methods are
Mhm.
different. So many things. And
I
lost
just
my
know
brain.
that no matter how good you get or understand things now, if you're in your 20s right now and you're still teaching by the time you're 50, it's going to be it, it's going to be insane the difference. And I could give myself as a great example. It's just when I was in my 20s, I'm 49 now. In my 20s, there were no cell phones. There was no AI, not even close. I know AI has been around a lot, but there really wasn't AI. Even AI today isn't what I expected to be in 10 years, which will be a real AI in 10 years or 20 years, especially. Just all of that stuff didn't exist. There was tech, we had tech, but not the same tech
But tech evolves,
that
just like everything
we
else.
have. And the tech we have today is going to be archaic compared to 20 years from now.
Mm-hmm. It will be
So,
like the dial-up internet for us right
well,
now. Would that
if
look
I go
familiar?
back, yeah, 20 years ago, I did have high speed internet 20 years ago. When I say
Well,
high speed, meaning not dial up, doesn't mean actual high speed.
what was high speed then, it is extremely slow to us, and then that will be the mindset for what our speed is right now, about like 5 years from now.
Yeah, yeah,
Also,
exactly.
two is that when starting, and this is not limited to tutoring businesses, but when you're starting building a successful business, it takes time, it takes dedication, and being consistent also help. But with the right mindset and strategy, you can create something thriving. You can create something amazing that will have a real impact on students' lives.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right. So I was
So
trying
thank
to
you
find something online.
guys
Okay.
so
So
much.
yeah,
If you guys found our discussion on the emerging trends and opportunities and our side conversations
yeah.
helpful, inspiring, or even funny, please subscribe, like, click that bell if you want to get notifications on the next time that we are on our videos. And we're going to be starting a new channel soon called Our Song Studios, and where you're going to find all the videos, YouTube videos on that channel. So please keep it a lookout. I will do a little comment thing to let you guys know.
All right.
All right.
And
Until
we'll
then,
probably be more on normal time. Well, I'm never going to say we're going to be starting anything at a normal time. So let's just assume that time will be to be determined every week.
but right now we're just going to say Thursdays at 9:30 Pacific time, 12:30
Well,
Eastern
we'll
time.
just keep it. We'll keep it there, and just if we're not, it's because who knows?
Yeah, I need
It
to
could be a
call
hurricane.
YouTube
It could
to
be something else.
say, yeah. And follow us. Do you have a Discord channel, Phil?
I haven't used it in a long time.
Okay.
I'll have to get back on
You
it.
need to
Yeah,
put
I do
like
have one. I've got it.
notifications on Instagram or
Yeah.
some type of social media. All right. Until next
Yeah.
time, guys.